I think we're live. Hello, my astrology friends and family. This is Lada from Astrolada.com, and we are continuing with the 2022 Astrology Marathon, where top astrologers around the world are joining me to give you in depth information about the year 2022. And we continue with one of your beloved astrologers, very popular on YouTube, Marina Stoichkova, who is here to talk about one of her signs, Capricorn. Capricorn Sun, Moon, Rising. Hello, Marina.
Hi, Lada. Hi, everybody. So nice to be here. And also really excited to talk about 2022 and guide you and walk you through the most important astrology events. And most importantly, how they can affect our sign. I will talk about me as well, because I'm also a Capricorn myself. So we are going to talk about, first of all, Venus retrograde. This is, first of all, the way we are going to start the year. So Venus will be retrograde in our sign, basically during the whole January. So this will be pretty big. We are also going to talk about the position of the lunar nodes, and this can help you to understand in which area you can grow, you can expand, you can achieve success and even some kind of support, and also which are the things you may need to let go and kind of like leave behind your back. We are also going to talk about Jupiter, which will be actually the most active planet during 2022. Jupiter is moving to one of the most comfortable sign positions, the sign of Pisces. So Jupiter is coming home, and this is also very beneficial. We will understand in what way. Part of the year, Jupiter is also in Aries, which is another strong, but in a different way position. So that's another thing we'll discuss. We are going to talk about eclipses and, of course, Mars retrograde. Mars will be pretty important because Mars will spend around 5 months or so in the same sign position, being also retrograde part of the time. So that's how we are going to prepare for the year. Of course, there are other things which you will learn about. And let me share my screen. So I want to show you guys the chart and also bring my presentation here to help me guide you. So let's begin with Venus. Venus being retrograde. Actually, this is starting at the end of 2021, around the 19th or 20th of December. So with the new year, with 2022, Venus is already retrograde in Capricorn. And not only that, but Venus will be also right next to Pluto. And this is a very powerful and emotionally triggering position. So we can expect, first of all, intense emotions to show up, especially things that you might have suppressed or things that you have tried to forget about or neglect without processing them. That's mostly about emotional stuff, but also anything related to your personality. And Venus being retrograde for around 40 days can help you to bring light into those areas of your life that you might have neglected, or parts of yourself that you might have neglected. And Venus retrograde is about, of course, reassessing, looking at the past, and also having the opportunity to fix something. You can fix things related to yourself, related to your relationships, of course, related to your financial situation. And of course, the idea is not to judge yourself or to blame yourself or to be very critical. This is not the constructive approach. It's more about bringing compassion and understanding, and also something very important, allowing yourself to feel everything that you have tried to forget about, or you haven't allowed yourself to feel. In psychological terms, there is something very interesting which comes to my mind right now, and I want to share it with you. It's about containment. So whatever happens with us as an experience, especially as an emotion, we need to be able to contain this. I won't go into details psychologically, about details and stuff, but this is extremely important for our emotional and psychological health. And if we don't allow this space or contain our emotions, usually they're going into the subconscious mind and they start affecting us without us realizing that. And this cycle of Venus retrograde in Capricorn, especially being right next to Pluto, so there will be 3 conjunctions between Venus and Pluto within a couple of months. All of this means that we can dive deep and open those areas where we might have tried, to lock something emotionally, allow it to show up and contain it. This is the most important. So allow space for whatever needs to show up. And this can be extremely healing on an emotional level, on a personal level. And of course, we might expect things related to relationships to show up. Old partners might come into your life. But this is also the time when you can separate with old partners. And I mean those people that you have been with somewhere in the past. And even though technically they're no longer part of your life, energetically, they're still with you. So many of us have those invisible energy connections with people from the past, people who have hurt us or who have been very important. And with Venus retrograde and with Pluto also close to Venus, we can end those unhealthy energy connections which are only pulling us back towards the past. So January overall can be emotionally very, very intense and transformational. In terms of more practical advice, I wouldn't recommend you to get married during this time. I wouldn't recommend you to make some really important financial decisions or investments. It's a really important time to focus on yourself. And also, again, going back to psychology, especially the Jungian psychology, there we use the term persona. So the persona is what you show and the way you present yourself in the outer world. And we all have this. It's a normal structure of the psyche, but sometimes this persona may turn into something completely different from what we truly are. And that's when we can experience real conflicts and pain. So Venus being in Capricorn, and especially if your ascendant is in Capricorn, but even if it's just the sun, can invite you to reevaluate this and to try to look at your persona and the way you present yourself and to recognize and perhaps change the things that you don't like. So you might feel like it's time for you to change the way you present yourself in the outer world. Again, on a very practical level, this may mean literally changing your appearance, changing your behavior. But that's very important because it can allow you to go deeper and to recognize who you truly are and what your real values are. And one more note about Venus retrograde. Around 8 years ago, Venus was retrograde in Capricorn as well. So you might want to go back and check what was your life like. I'm not saying that the same thing will happen, probably not, because hopefully we are all evolving and life is moving on. So probably something different will be presented, but there might be some connections that you can find. So this is usually interesting to check what has happened 8 years ago. Next, let's talk about the lunar nodes. So the lunar nodes are, again, very important because they stay in one sign, in one axis, around 18 months. And around the middle of January, so after the 19th of January, the nodes are changing signs, and they will stay in those new signs until the end of 2022 and even after that. So the North Node will be moving to Taurus, which for Capricorn means 5th house. And this is the area where we can expand. This is the area where we need to learn something. We need to embrace something. And first of all, Taurus is a very friendly sign for Capricorn. So this is a nice position. And again, the focus seems to be on who you truly are. This is one of the meanings of 5th house. It's about the core of yourself. It's about your heart and your deepest desires. So now is the time, basically the whole 2022 is the time to pay attention to your deepest desires, to feel open and ready to share your individuality, and to pay attention to those personal desires. Sometimes I like to call this being selfish in a healthy way. So it's about recognizing your needs, desires, your passions. In terms of creativity, this could be a great time in terms of expressing yourself, finding more time for joy, for love, for happiness, for your children. All of those themes can be very beneficial for Capricorn. And here we also need to mention what is the South Node doing, and which is kind of like the opposite side of this coin. So the South Node is always in the opposite sign, in the opposite house, which for Capricorn means 11th house. So we need to detach ourselves a little bit from social opinions, from what the whole group is requiring or society wants from us. And we need to connect more with ourselves. 5th and 11th house is also the axis of the heart and the mind. So the focus should be more on the heart, not so much on the mind. I'm not saying, be stupid and do reckless things, absolutely not. But don't make your important decisions based on fear of what other people will say, what other people will think, and also chasing other people's dreams. This is very important. And this is, I think, one of the recipes for frustration and unhappiness, to pursue other people's dreams. So make a reassessment. Again, Venus retrograde in Capricorn during January may help for that. To be very honest, what do you really want? And which of your desires are coming from what family wants, or the culture, or community, and generally other people? So with the lunar nodes, we have a very intense focus on creativity and self-expression. Okay, and speaking about the nodes here, I want to mention something interesting, which is coming around the middle of the year, so July, August. This is the time when the transit Uranus will be joining the North Node. And this is a time of surprises and possibly unexpected situations and opportunities. So this is the time when you may feel a strong desire to do something, to be more creative, to express yourself. Something surprising related to children may also occur into your life. So overall, this is a very intense time for change. Personal change towards your desires, towards doing something that will bring you happiness. So this is a pretty important period. Another thing which we will discuss is the position of Jupiter. So Jupiter is, as I already said, pretty active during 2022. And at the beginning, so from January until April, and then again, November, December, Jupiter will be in Pisces in 3rd house. First of all, again, it's very important to understand that Jupiter is very strong during this time. Jupiter is in one of its most beneficial positions. And in 3rd house, it can be especially helpful for us to expand our circle of communication, to learn new things. But here, it's nice if you can focus on more practical skills. So things that you can implement immediately, knowledge that you can use right away. And also in terms of communication, I think that this will be a great area of expansion. And 3rd house is about kind of like smaller groups. I think that this is very important. Also with Pluto being in Capricorn for such a long time, basically for more than a decade. I think that from a social perspective, structures are changing. We see how people are responding to political and corporate structures. And, you know, I know this is like a whole other theme, but the way we communicate changes, the structures that we belong to are changing. And the focus seems to be moving towards smaller societies or smaller communities or places and people who can help you to learn something, to expand or to grow, especially if you have interest in self-growth and personal development. So with Jupiter being in 3rd house for quite a long time, it's a wonderful idea to think about joining some kind of social group or generally opening up for more communication, for sharing more with other people. This is a great time also for new friendship and, as we said, also for knowledge. Hopefully travel will also be possible. So this is also a great time for travel and also lots of energy which can recharge your mind. So if you want to write a book, if you want to create something which is more like you know, a task of the mind, Jupiter in 3rd house can really bring you this inspiration and support. And especially if you learn to go with the flow, it can be very pleasing and rewarding. We are going to talk about Jupiter in Pisces more, but let me just walk you through the other part of the year, which is between May and October, because this is the time of the year when Jupiter will be in Aries. Again, very comfortable position for Jupiter. It supports more the initiative, the braveness, the courage. Energetically, it feels different. It's more masculine, definitely. It's more active. And for Capricorn, the main house which will be triggered is 4th, which means that during this part of the year, you may also focus on your personal life, on some family tasks and goals, and even expand your family or focus on properties and generally the place where you are living. If you want to move, if you want to relocate, overall, this is a nice period. Of course, for such a big change, usually you need to check personally what's happening in your chart. But overall, as a as a background, we can say that 2022 will be pretty positive for travel and for moving. Now, let me walk you through some interesting Jupiter aspects. So those are the major aspects with the slower planets. They seem to be, of course, the most important. And the first one is during February. Jupiter will have a nice aspect with Uranus, which triggers third and fifth house. This will be a great time for some kind of creative ideas, for communication with people that you like, even for some kind of dates or meeting new people who potentially might be romantically important for you as well. And also for a travel for fun, I guess, for doing something nice that you would enjoy. So Jupiter is having some really nice aspects. The next one is during April, and in my opinion, this is the most interesting one. So Jupiter is joining Neptune in Pisces. Those are the two rulers of the sign of Pisces. So they are both very strong. They feel very comfortable and they can be very rewarding. So this is a great time for inspiring ideas, for some kind of new goals, especially related to your own growth and finding your path. And again, here you really need to rely on your intuition and creativity. It's not the time when we need to rely so much on the critical mind or the rational mind. It's more about learning to go with the flow, opening your mind for the ideas that want to be manifested through you. And of course, there is always a possible catch, so we need to be aware of that. Jupiter and Neptune, unfortunately, sometimes could be quite delusional, especially in Pisces. So that's very personal. You need to check with yourself, but keep it in mind. It's also possible that we may fall into the trap of some kind of delusional ideas or things which are just not true. So it's a great time to practice and learn to find your own truth. The body could be a great way and guidance to learn whether something really resonates and feel true to yourself. And of course, there are other ways which can support you, but this is important to know that we might be wearing too much our pink glasses. This is also one of the specialties of Jupiter and Neptune. And the last of those aspects, the last of this series, is around May. Also an interesting aspect because Pluto in first house, Pluto in Capricorn, will be connecting with Jupiter, which is in third house. So this will also be related to the possibility to express yourself, your ideas, to feel empowered and confident and also motivated. So there could be lots of strength and inspiration, and this all needs to happen in a very practical way. First house, this is your actions, your activities, what you are doing. Third house, it's the house of ideas. So kind of like taking your ideas and doing something about them. This will be pretty beneficial and very, very rewarding. Okay, next, let's talk about eclipses. And actually, we are having, so let me guide you here. I want to show you the charts. So we are going to get to eclipses, but let's just start, first of all, with the beginning of the year. I want to guide you very quickly through the months with the most essential things, of course. This is not supposed to be too overwhelming and detailed, but just as a quick map of the year. so to speak. So January, we said it's pretty intense with Venus being retrograde in Capricorn. So we know this month is really about focusing on yourself. The sun is in Capricorn part of the month, so you really need to focus on yourself during January. Then during February, it's interesting that again, the sign of Capricorn is really triggered. So first of all, Mercury will be retrograde part of the time. I will give you the exact dates of Mercury retrograde in a moment. But also Venus and Mars will be joining together. So Venus will be in Capricorn during February as well, even though she will be direct. So what it means is that, first of all, we may have the possibility to see things again from yet another angle. So if you are going through something during December, Venus is in Capricorn, something is happening. During January, you might be able to look at that from a different perspective, fix something, improve, change something, let go of something. And then during February, we have like the third motion. It's the end of the shadow zone, as we call this phase. And you may have the possibility to have yet another look and perspective at this. So February also has lots of focus on the Capricorn energy. Mars will be moving to Capricorn during February. So yes, we have lots of focus on the energy here. Even though there is also some focus moving to Aquarius. So the sun will be there next to Saturn part of the month. And it also means that we need to focus on practical things, financial stuff, our resources, our energy. So I think it's very important to be grounded at the beginning of the year. January, February, those are times when you need to focus on this connection with the earth, with the material world, and the practical things in your life. After that, during March, the focus is moving more into the Aquarius zone, which for Capricorn is the area of, as we said, resources, money, energy. Venus and Mars are again chasing each other through the sign. Saturn, of course, is here. Mercury will be there. So lots of focus on energy, money, and practical things. And after that, of course, we have a very interesting new moon, so in Pisces. So ideas may start to show up and present themselves during March. Jupiter is already there, very close to Neptune. The new moon in Pisces will trigger those planets. So the Pisces energy is increasing even more. So you might want to focus on your ideas, your plans, but remember, again, the focus is again very practical. Okay, then during April, we have the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and the new moon in Aries. So during April, we may feel more energized and ready to take action, but also focus on your personal life and family stuff, properties. Those will be also some important themes. And we are getting now to May, which is also one of the most interesting months. This is the time when there will be, first of all, a solar eclipse, but this solar eclipse will also trigger Uranus. So it will be very powerful. And if you pay attention, there are some really interesting aspect configurations here. So this will be a very, very intense solar eclipse. And of course, the presence of Uranus there is extremely important. Also, the fact that the North Node is triggered. All of that means that we need to look at the future from a new perspective. It's time to make some changes, some transformations. And to go towards freedom, not so much restrictions, and the things which are restricting us the most are coming from the past. So those are old patterns, old beliefs. It's the time to just let those go as much as you can, as much as you feel ready to do so. So this May eclipse is very intense. It triggers 5th house. So it's about your passions, your desires, your love life, your children. And perhaps it's time to, you know, get to the next level of the spiral, so to speak. So growth and something new. So very, very interesting eclipse. Okay, June, July. No, it was more like July, August. We said Uranus is very close to the North Node. Jupiter is already in Aries at this point. Mars will be there as well. So from the middle of May and after that, for around 2 months, you may feel really energized thanks to this Mars-Jupiter conjunction and energy in Aries, especially when it comes to personal life, your home, family, some kind of renovations at home, or like making some new steps in this area would also be nice. Okay, one more thing I wanted to add also was related to the Black Moon Lilith. So around the beginning of May, so the end of April, the beginning of May, the Black Moon Lilith is moving to Cancer. Lilith is a very interesting astrology point. If you're not using it, I would encourage you to check it and see how it works for you. But Lilith has a lot to do with our psychological well-being, with some kind of suppressed emotions, with how, especially for women, of course, Lilith is a feminine symbol. So I won't go into details, but keep in mind that Lilith may trigger your shadow. And again, things that you haven't recognized. And the ingression of Lilith into Cancer is very important for Capricorn because it triggers your opposite house and sign, obviously. So what that means is that you may have the possibility and the opportunity to recognize some of those shadows or things that you have not recognized so far. Most likely it will happen through communication with other people. Your partner or your spouse or a significant other in your life can be a huge provocator. But know that if something is very annoying, very irritating, very triggering for you, this is always a sign that there is part of you that's connected to this energy. And probably it's part of your shadow. So for psychological work, especially if you want to increase your self-awareness, if you want to understand more about yourself, the area of relationships, this phase when Lilith is in Cancer may not be very easy, but can be very rewarding. So it's time for intense work, especially with your relationships. So this is around the end of April and after that. All right, let's see what was coming up next. July is intense. We have Mars joining Uranus in Taurus and also the North Node. So I think socially there could be lots of active themes related to resources, related to other practical matters. For Capricorns, this may also be a time to take action and to do something that will liberate you, something that will help you to grow. We need to respect, of course, the boundaries of the physical world. Saturn is close to the square, even though it's not exact at this point, but there is some energy coming from Saturn. So we always need to be respectful of the boundaries of the material world. And the next thing, which is also very important, around the middle of August, the transit Mars is moving, ingressing the sign of Gemini. So this is important because Mars will stay in this sign until the end of the year. So around the middle of August, it enters the sign and it will be there until the end of the year and even after that, because Mars will also be retrograde in this sign during the last 2 months, November and December. Mars is retrograde. For Capricorns, this triggers the 6th house area, which is about your health, your daily routines, your work, your feelings about obligations, responsibilities, duties. So there might be lots of focus. It's almost half of the year, basically. And because Mars will be retrograde, it's also time for retrospection, for some improvements, fixes, recognizing something is not maybe the way you want it to be or the way it is supposed to be, and doing things in a different way. So Mars being retrograde in 6th house doesn't have a major aspect with Capricorn, but as we said, it will trigger and perhaps it will change the way you organize your life, the way you do your work, your business. For some people, this might be the time when they may realize that they're not happy with this job. And sometimes I have received questions like, can I lose my job when Mars is retrograde in such a position? The truth is that, yes, it is possible to lose your job, but if that happens, it means that it's not the right thing for you. So it's time for, again, a new cycle. Not everyone will lose their job. Please don't worry too much, but know that perhaps it's time again for a new phase in this area of your life. And usually that includes also some phase of frustration. That's how we recognize we need to do something different. So work, health, your daily life, how you organize things, those could be some very important themes during the second half of the year, basically. All right, let me bring my presentation back to show you the other eclipses. So the first one is the 30th of April. We looked at that. It's in Taurus, including the North Node and Uranus. So this will be a very important one. Then we have a May lunar eclipse, again, triggering the same axis. The end of October, there is another solar eclipse, but this time it will trigger your the transit South Node and your 11th house. So it also happens to be at the same time when Mars is retrograde, which is another indication that you need to let go of something. It's time to end something, separate with something which is old and unnecessary and not really helpful. And the last eclipse of the year is on the 8th of November, again, a lunar eclipse in 5th and 11th house. Very quickly, I want to show you the Mercury retrograde dates. So January, February, we have one cycle. Part of this time, Mercury will be in Capricorn. And something I found really interesting is that at the beginning of the year, so around January, February, Mercury will be retrograde in Capricorn. And then at the very end of the year, on the 29th of December, Mercury will be retrograde in Capricorn again. And it's even more interesting that the degrees are the same. So this first Mercury retrograde cycle ends, I believe it was around the 25th degree of Capricorn. And then around on the 29th of December, Mercury starts another retrograde cycle from the same degree, from the 25th degree of Capricorn. This is pretty interesting, and I guess it comes to show us that the beginning and the end of the year might be somehow related. Perhaps something that you are starting or doing at the beginning of the year may need to be reassessed or completed towards the end of the year. So that's pretty interesting. We talked about Mars. Let's say a few words about Saturn, the main ruler of Capricorn. Saturn is in Aquarius, just like last year. The degrees that Saturn will be in are between the 12th and the 26th. So you might want to check, especially if your ascendant is in Capricorn, check where is the cusp of your second house. And just know that with Saturn in second house, it's also time to be very practical, very organized with your resources. Sometimes we may feel this as lack of energy on a physical level. This is a sign that you need to pay attention to your body. We may need to be also more efficient, more practical with financial matters. But please know that Saturn in 12th house does not mean poverty. It may mean growing up. So especially if you have had a more immature attitude towards money and resources, this might be the time when you are called to grow up, to be more organized, to be more practical. But also, this is the time when you need to improve your connection with the material world. Boundaries, all of those things are really important. About Uranus, we should say that it will be between the 11th and the 19th degree of Taurus in 5th house. So Uranus is very supportive for Capricorns, especially if your sun or rising sign is somewhere between those degrees. So basically the middle 10 degrees of the sign. It means that Uranus will have a trine with your sun or ascendant. And it's very energizing. This one is very liberating. And I think that nowadays this topic about freedom and restrictions is very, very important. Freedom is found always within ourselves. And if we don't allow ourselves to have this freedom, no one else can give it to us. So with Uranus trining your sun or rising sign, you might be blessed to recognize that it's up to you. And you can always find strength and, you know, the right way to express yourself. So yeah, it can be very inspiring, very helpful for changes, for trying new things as well. In terms of Neptune, we should also say Neptune is pretty friendly for Capricorn. Neptune is in Pisces between the 21st, 26th degree. Again, you might want to check the cusps of your houses. If your sun or rising sign is between those degrees, Neptune will have a supportive aspect with you, with your planet or ascendant. So it's about compassion, it's about creativity, sensitivity, empathy, and yeah, connecting with something beyond. So especially in terms of ideas and new concepts, I think that this could be very rewarding. And the most serious planet of all, the planet which brings the biggest changes and transformations, of course, Pluto, which is in Capricorn. That's especially important if you have your sun or rising sign at the end. So between the 25th and the 30th degree of Capricorn. Pluto will make conjunction in this case with your sun or rising sign. And this is one of the, no, actually, this is the most transformative aspect you can experience ever in your life. It's first of all once in a lifetime, and it will shake your core and help you to find your true self. The truth is, it's not easy. It can be painful, it can be difficult, but at the end, you will be reborn. So we can talk for a really long time only about Pluto and, you know, all of the archetypes related to it, but you really need to find yourself and your own truth in this. So if you have those degrees, 25th to 30th degree of Capricorn, embrace the change. This is the best thing you can do. Resisting the change, trying to stay attached to old structures, traditions, and formalities, which are only holding you back. This won't work anymore. So embrace the change is what I mean. So I think this is the essence of the year. We have those retrogradenesses, so there will be lots of time for retrospection, for reassessment, for personal work, and yeah, I think a new concept of the world and of ourselves is what we should focus on.
Thank you so much, Marina, for this beautifully detailed presentation. Very well organized. Capricornian. In the comments, and even in the comments, Capricorns that were following we said, we're so concentrated on what she's saying that we're not even commenting. So thank you again for your professionalism and beautifully laid out information. You're starting another course soon?
Yes, that's right. So for all Capricorns and other astrology lovers who want to learn astrology, you're welcome to join me. We are starting during January. It will be an intense course. So within 6 months, we are going to meet twice a week. And my goal for this particular course will be to practice as much as possible. We are going to work with the charts of participants. So if you want to explore your own chart, if you want to understand more about your chart, this will be a great opportunity. And of course, the training will be great for beginners or even for mid-level astrologers who want to learn more about themselves. And yeah, we are going to do this. I'm trying to do it like a mixture of Capricorn and Pisces, approach. So we need the information, we need the technicalities, but we need the magic of the intuition as well. And this is something that you might be born with, but you can also expand on and work on and improve and really learn how to use it. So that's my goal for this training, to get the technical information, but then to learn also how to bring the intuition and really learn to put everything together.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marina. And if you'd like a personal reading with Marina, maybe for the year ahead, I'll put a link below in the video description to connect to her. And have a happy new year, Marina. And all of you who have Capricorn rising, sun, or moon, thank you for joining us.